What's up, plant lovers? We're back at it again. My name is Brian and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something I think is exciting, and that is I'm going to chop off my ficus altissima yellow gem. Now, I did a couple of months ago, or about a month and a half ago, I did the big chop on my fiddle leaf fig as well as some of my other rubber trees, but I didn't really show the process of actually doing the chop. So today I'm actually going to take you along as I chop off the tops of my ficus altissima yellow gem. Now, you'll see this when I take you outside, but I currently have a nice trunk on it that has 3 stems coming off of that, but the stems are a little bit bare. It isn't quite as bushy as I want it to be at the top, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a chop off the top. There are other methods that you can do. You can, for instance, decide to notch your trees, and if you notch, that pretty much lets you keep that apical growth, so that straight up and down growth, without necessarily having to do much to get those branches. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and chop off the current branches that I have on my ficus altissima and hope that I get multiple branches off of those branches. I'll also show you what you can do with those tops when you do the big chop. That way you don't just throw them away and waste them. So let's get to the video. This is my ficus altissima yellow gem. I'm probably about to give this a big chop. Actually, I am going to give this a big chop. As you can see, I just placed this outside. The trunk is pretty sturdy. I have some growth points that are lower up on the stem, which is great. But then I also have these few leaves here which are pretty dusty from being inside, and I haven't really taken care of this as well as I should have. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to give you a quick look at what the altissima looks like before I do the big chop. Now this leaf right here, you can tell was formed when it wasn't getting enough sunlight. So when your ficuses aren't getting enough sunlight, you might notice some deformity in your leaves until it starts getting acclimated to a lower light condition. So that's why this leaf is deformed. And then you'll also notice right up here, I have a deformed leaf. But that's okay because we're gonna chop this up anyway, and it will be no more. The first thing that you want to do before chopping off your trees, really any type of ficus or anything that you want to be bushier, is you want to double up on the fertilizer. So I have some fertilizer, and I also have some soil that is pretty dry here. So let's get the fertilizer. This is my fertilizer. So this is a 312 NPK value liquid fertilizer that I have placed in this gallon jug. I've doubled the dosage, and I'm gonna just simply pour it in. And we wanna water thoroughly. And we know that we've watered thoroughly based on whether or not water comes out of the bottom. And as you can see, water is starting to come out of the bottom. And I'm just gonna finish all of this up. Water drains. So now we're ready to chop up this yellow gem. So again, you can do this on any type of tree, but we're going to be focusing on ficuses today. So that means you can do this on your ficus elasticas, your burgundies. You can do this on ficus elastica taniki. You can do this on your ficus lorata, ficus benjamina. You can do this on any type of ficus robusta, but the key is knowing where you want the branching to occur. So not only, well, I take that back. The key isn't not only knowing where you want the branching to occur, but it's also making sure that you double up on the fertilizer and giving it plenty of bright sunlight. So this isn't even bright indirect sunlight. This is truly bright sunlight. Now I have a couple of branches that have already formed. So I have a branch here, a branch going out, a branch coming to the left. And then I also have some lower branches that I'm probably going to strip. And then I also have branches off of my branches, which we're also going to take care of. So for instance, for this particular branch that's going this way, offshoot, offshoot, offshoot. If you like videos like this and want to continue to see more videos about houseplant tips and tricks, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. It's totally free and would mean a lot. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to chopping up this Ficus altissima yellow gem. When cutting, you want to try to limit the surface area of your wound. So a lot of times what you'll see is you'll see people cutting diagonally. And this a lot of times is used for when you're cutting roses, for instance, because depending on the angle at which you cut is going to influence the direction in which your branches go. So people also do this typically because they want to avoid crossing of the inner branches, but we're not too worried about that. We're really worried about any kind of spreading of disease. So I am going to just do a straight cut, because a straight cut is going to limit the surface area and limit the potential for spreading of disease. All right, here we go. So I have this one branch here, and you can see I have some nodes that are trying to activate, which is awesome. Just going to simply cut at an internode. Okay, so your internode is going to be right in between areas where you have your leaves forming. So for instance, this is a node here, and you can see that little activation right above my thumb. And then there is a node again here, right above my thumb. And I'm going to cut right in between those two spots. And then I'm going to do the same over here as well. So I find my two nodes. So I have a node right above my finger, node right above my finger. I'm going to cut right in between. Okay, so that's two. Now for this one, I am going to cut right in this area here. So I have a node right here, a node right here, and I'm just going to cut straight across. Okay, so here's what my tree is looking like so far. Let me pick up my cuttings so we can root those. And we'll talk about the rooting here in a second. Now I want to take care of these lower branches as well. So I'm just gonna knock that off, knock that off. Okay. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that I'm not too concerned about preserving too much of the leaves, because despite not having leaves, we are going to continue to push out growth. So okay, this is what we're left with. Pretty bare, but so exciting as far as what it's about to do. Now, another reason why I like to keep these outside is because the movement of the wind is going to help thicken up this stem here, this trunk, and we want a nice thick trunk to help support this additional top growth that's going to be pushed out. Now, let's talk about what we can do with these cuttings. You can decide to toss the cuttings, which is fine, or you can decide to prop the cuttings. There are a couple of ways that you can prop the cuttings, but the two most popular ways are going to be to try and root them in soil or to try to root them in water. I find that rooting in water is most definitely the easiest. When you root these in water, what you want to do is you want the wound to callus over. So what that means is this is the wound that was formed after performing the chop. And the wound is this area where you see all that white liquidy substance that's appearing. What I want to do is I'm going to wait until this basically scabs over, so where I can't see that white liquidy substance. That can take a couple of hours to about a day. And the reason why you want to do this when doing a water prop is because you want to prevent the likelihood that your cutting is going to basically rot. So I'm going to wait for these to dry. I'm probably going to water prop. I don't know if I'll do a video about it, but that's my intention for this. And then we'll just see what happens. We'll see if these take off or not. So here is my cutting. This is what I cut. Let's see what happens over the next few weeks. Very, very exciting. Now, I will say what I am predicting is going to happen is I'm predicting that these activations are basically going to start growing. And once they do, we should begin to see an explosion of growth. Because typically the more leaves you have, the faster in which your tree is going to grow, because the leaves are producing the energy and photosynthesizing, which is feeding your tree, and it's telling your tree, hey, give me more, give me more, give me more, especially since we already have this established root system here. So again, very exciting. Looking forward to seeing what happens next. I think I will go ahead and document the progress week by week, just so you can follow along as my Ficus altissima yellow gem begins to branch. So it's been about an hour, and I want to show you what a callus looks like on one of your cuttings. So before, there was a white liquid that was dripping from the base of this cutting, but as you can see, it's now dried up and it's now brown. You can take another look. This is calloused over, which is great. Now I'm gonna try to do this with one hand. Let me actually put this camera down. I want to show you what it looks like when you have an open wound versus it being calloused. So as you can see, we have this scab, if you will. It's even brown, that's covering up where the cutting was. So there's no kind of white liquid that's currently coming out. Now, just a reminder, this is what it looks like when you have an open wound. So you see how green that is? So this is green and white, and you do not want to root this, because if you do attempt to root this in water, it has the potential to rot. Instead, you want to wait until it's calloused over, where you see this nice brown scab forming, and then you root this one right here in my right hand in water. You will not get any kind of rotting. Roots will form in about 3 weeks. Once those roots form, you can place it in soil and you will be good to go. So again, don't root this. Don't attempt to water prop this. Wait for about an hour or so until it calluses over and attempt to water prop this. So those are the steps that I've taken in order to give my Ficus altissima yellow gem the big chop in hopes that it will produce multiple branching. I've decided to just go ahead and wrap up all of these progress videos into just one big video. So I'm no longer going to do weekly updates separately on my Ficus taniki and my fiddle leaf fig, but instead I'm just going to do all of the updates at once so you can just go ahead and see the progress. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.